Hi, I'm Greta,
Hi, I'm Millie,
and you're listening to the Books We Meet in the Library.
a bookish podcast about reading and the book community.
I'm like smiling from ear to ear today. Millie, what are you currently reading?
So I just started on a adult romantasy, and this was a really popular one last year, and that's The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I'm like
Okay.
20% through it, and it's 100% giving Legends and Lattes vibe.
Wait, is this the book with that's like purple with the or like blue purple with like a bottle on the cover?
No, I think that's like the
Okay.
apo-
The apothecary.
yes, that word.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Okay.
Spell Shop is the one that it's like the golden like cottage. It's like
Okay.
epitome of cottage core.
Okay. Okay.
And it's just like barely any plot, all vibes.
But romantasy.
hmm
That sounds cute. That sounds cute. A lot of romantasy is like super high stake. So that sounds really, really nice.
Okay, so Greta, what are you currently reading?
I am currently reading The Guest by Emma Cline. I have been in small book heaven recently. Everything I've been
Ooh,
reading has been roughly like 4 hours in audiobook standard. So like what is that? Like
that's
200
yeah,
pages or so. Yeah.
that's between
Eh,
150 200. Those are
mhm.
novellas. You are getting through them.
Very good. Yeah, it's been a whole lot of fun. So besides for besides for the book we're talking about today, which was very big in comparison. That might be why. That might be why I've just been like in tiny book heaven and just like making my way through there. So I decided to pick up something that was a little bit more in the 300, 350 range, which is what The Guest is, hoping to like build up that stamina again.
Okay, just to be clear, I thought in my head that this book that we're about to talk about was like at least 500 pages because I was like, oh, it's one
Uh-huh.
of her shorter books. Because
hmm
her first book for her adult series is literally 1,000 pages. And the
That
other
is such
books the other books for the series are in like the 600 700 range. I was like, oh, this is at least 500. I looked at it, I was like, it's 416. I was like, I haven't read a small book from her in such a long time.
small book. This might be the longest. Well, this and then something else we're reading this year might be the longest book of the year. But without further ado, shall we discuss the long awaited episode, Millie?
I am so excited for this because I have made it my vendetta to get her to read at least one Sarah J. Maas book. I'm so sad it's this one, but it's also the most iconic one. So like
Yeah,
it had to be your introduction.
it
And
did.
that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas.
Okay. Yeah. Are we ready?
We are. So we are going to talk about this book, spoiler cover to cover review. This is also the first time that we're talking about like our thoughts on the book. My only want was for
hmm
Greta to at least finish this book. I just didn't want her to DNF it. I wanted her to torturously go through it. That was it. That's how low the bar was. I was like, as long as she finishes it, I'm good. Did you
I've
finish
only
it?
ever yeah, I did. I've
Yay.
only ever DNF'd one book, and that was the book that I suggested, which was that like Formula One.
Throttled by Lauren Asher.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to DNF that book like 8 times.
One of us had to take the L.
hmm
I owe you one. I owe you one big time. No, but yes, I actually listened to an audiobook of A Court of Thousand Roses by Sarah J. Maas from start to finish. I ran out of audio listening time on Spotify because that's where I was listening to it. I ran out of audio listening time, and that's when I texted you, do you have an audiobook version of this? And you were like, no, I just have the physical book. And I was like, no. And then I hunted through YouTube for a audiobook copy of this book on YouTube. And then I found one. And then I had to figure out where I was because of course this YouTube had zero timestamps,
Oh.
zero chapter delineations. So I spent an entire day buffering through because also when you run out of listening time on Spotify, it like kicks you out of that audiobook entirely. Like you can't even see what percentage, you can't see what chapter you were on. It just
Oh.
has a track number. So unless another like the other source is on the same kind of system, you literally have no clue where you're at. It's so infuriating.
That
Um
sounds stressful.
it is stressful. So I spent an entire day like buffering through trying to like, okay, where was I? Where was I? I'm like, this doesn't sound familiar. And I was like, this is the worst. But I figured it out, and then I actually kind of did some back reading, and then I like finished it off. But I was like, okay, but I did it.
See, I reread it physically, which was a little bit of a struggle for me because
That's
I had just
crazy.
stopped rereading physically for so long, and my stamina and endurance for long books was just gone. So it
I
took me
can't
way longer than I
imagine.
actually like it would have normally taken me to read this book. But I've only ever read Sarah J. Maas books physically, and so I felt like I had to continue that.
I love how you like force yourself to like stick to the tradition.
I am so type A, it hurts sometimes.
Yeah. Call pop
Okay,
rating system?
yes. So let's jump into the Callpal rating system. So this was created by G from Book Roast. Essentially, there are 7 different categories. We have character, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. We rate them from 1 through 10, average out, and we get our star rating. All right. So without further ado, let's find out what we thought of Akatar. All right. So for character, I gave it a 5. What did you give it, Greta?
I gave it a 6.
Okay. Okay. For atmosphere, what did you give it?
I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8. For
Okay.
writing, I gave it an 8. What did you give it?
I gave it a 7.
Okay. For plot, I gave it a 6. What did you give it?
I also gave it a 6.
Okay. For intrigue, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a
What?
7.
Okay. For logic, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7.
And for enjoyment, I gave it a 7.
I gave it a 6.
Are we like almost identical here?
Um, your overall is a 6.85. My overall is a 6.5. That's a 4-star or a 3-star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we both have
about.
they're both like high 3 stars. And
Yeah.
yeah, for me it's a 3.5.
Okay. I thought you liked this book.
I like the series. The second and third book are like 6 out of 5 stars. Absolutely love them. Can't get enough of them. The once you read the series, the first book is just like, and everybody who reads it and who knows what happens, they also are just like when it comes to the first book because a lot of stuff happens that unfortunately we're going to spoil Akatar, but I can't spoil the Akatar series. So I will just be gritting my teeth
Boo.
and not being able to say stuff, but knowing that Greta is not going to continue this series, I'll spoil everything to her after the camera
Okay, okay,
fades.
okay, 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 perfect. Okay, thank you, thank you. I
Mhm.
take my boo back because I was like, I'm not gonna continue this. I deserve to know what the future of these characters. So, okay, maybe my writing was a little bit low.
Mhm.
Honestly, my writing could have gone up to like a probably like an 8 or a 9
Mhm.
because it is very impressive writing, and I think that is the point that I want to make, that this is very, very impressive writing. If you are, I'm now speaking to all of the non-fantasy enjoyers. If you are not into fantasy, regardless of your take on fantasy or whatever, or whether you enjoy it or not, it's very impressive to be able to write a book of this size and to not lose the plot
Mhm.
2 chapters in, because I have read Fourth Wing.
And we're going to touch on this so many times during this podcast, but like part of the reason why I was pushing so aggressively for us to read the
Oh my
Akatar book
god.
is just because, in my humble opinion, it is like the foundation of romantasy. Okay,
Yeah.
Akatar walked so that all of
Yeah.
the others could run poorly, and I just need people to like not only take like the themes and ideas from Sarah J. Maas, but like work on their writing, babe. Please, please.
Yeah. No, I will say the writing is really cool, and I like her. Oh god, I hate this. I listen, as a hater, I if there's one thing I'm gonna do, is I need to be so well versed on the material that I am hating upon to be able to hate properly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I will say Sarah J. Maas does a really cool thing where in her writing she like juxtaposes scenarios and like events very like quickly, right, back to back, and the like visceral reaction that gives the readers, it's very good. I
Mm-hmm.
hate to see them win. I hate to see. But yeah, I'm very surprised. I'm honestly very surprised with how low your rating is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be much higher. What is do you, can you share your rating for like the entire series? Like if you were to do that?
Ooh. Okay, because of how low the first book is, because the second and third book
It's
are
that
my
low?
absolute favorite. Yeah, because the second and third one are my I like go back and forth. I can't choose between the two. I love them with all my heart.
Oh
The
my god.
novella is not the work. It's like it's like the little like epilogue kind of moment in between it. So it's
Okay,
just
so
like
it's
it's there.
actually a novella. It's not
Yeah.
like a 300-page novella.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, I think it's like 250. But it's a novella for her. And
Okay.
that one is just like people dealing with trauma and trying to recover from
Okay.
it. So it's very much like a
Okay.
break from the
Uh-huh.
plot. And so a lot of people don't like it for that reason, but objectively it's still better than Akatar. And then she started with a spin-off trilogy, which the first book is A Court of Silver Flames. And the fans are
Okay.
waiting for the other two spin-off books that are going to be in like this second set of trilogies. And I really, really liked A Court of Silver Flames. And so it's just like overall, I really, really enjoy a lot of the books in this. It's just like crack for me, honestly. It's just like a guilty pleasure. And the first book, it's just like, if I want to reread it, I just have to go through it.
Wait, so your overall rating for the series.
Oh, I would say like a 4.5.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, slay. Okay,
Mhm.
that's solid. That's solid.
So moving into the content warnings, we have abduction, gore, physical abuse, emotional abuse, torture, violence, and sexual assault. So just like a huge trifecta of it, and I will say that honestly, majority of it is in the last 30% of this book.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the current Goodreads rating is 4.18, which I think is a pretty like good average rating. And now it's everybody's favorite time for the Goodreads synopsis.
Since we started recording, it makes editing my reading of the Goodreads synopsis so much harder. So now I actually look as illiterate as I think. This is awful. Okay, the Goodreads synopsis. When 19-year-old huntress Freya kills a wolf in the woods, a terrifying creature arrives to demand retributions. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Freya discovers that her captor is not truly a beast, but one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled her world. At least he's not all beast all the time. At least he's not a beast all the time. Although I think my reading of that was better. Anyways, as she adopts to her new home, her feelings for the fairies, Tamlin transforms from icy hostility to a into a fiery passion that burns through every lie she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. I'm sorry. I'm taking my toesies, but something is not right in the fairy land. An ancient wicked shadow is growing, and Freya must find a way to stop it, or doom Tamlin and his worlds forever. From best-selling author Sarah J. Maas comes a seductive, breathtaking book about the blend of romance, adventure, and fairy lore into an unforgettable read.
Okay, so I need to stop you before the fandom cancels you. It's Feyre.
Feyre?
Uh-huh.
Oh my god, what did I say? Did I say Feyre? What did I say?
You did not say that.
It's Feyre. Okay, okay,
Uh-huh.
got it. Please, no one. Oh my god, that's so funny. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna get eaten alive. Today's gonna be quite an experience. Okay, 4 parts.
Hmm.
Do you want to start it off, Millie, or do you want me to start it off?
I think you should start it off because part 1 is very short.
Okay, yeah. Feyre? That's so funny. Her name has Faye in it. Boom. There goes.
This book
Okay.
came out in 2015, okay?
Oh, I didn't realize how long ago that came. Oh my god, that's a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, happy 10-year anniversary, Akatar. Okay. Feyre Akron. Is that it?
Hmm.
Okay. Ooh, yes. Okay. Feyre Akron, a 19-year-old huntress, stalks a doe in the woods near the border wall between human and fairy realm. 5 centuries ago, an enslaved human. No. Oh, okay. 5 centuries ago, enslaved humans fought a war for their freedom from their fairy overlords, and now only humans live cramped together in the southern part of this world. Humans still hate and fear fairies, especially the High Fae, the powerful, shape-shifting humanoid fairies ruling class. Feyre is a sole provider for her father and sister since her merchant father lost the family fortune. Desperate to feed her family, Desperate to feed her family, Feyre kills an enormous wolf who is actually a fairy in disguise. The next day, Tamlin, the High Lord of the Spring Court, and in the fairy realm of Perinthian, uh, appears at Feyre's cabin and demands to know who murdered his friend. Learning that it was Feyre, he tells her that he can either return with him to Perinthian or be killed as punishment for murdering a fairy. She chooses to go with him to Perinthian. The way that I'm actually kind of saying these names right, I'm so proud of myself. If this was like, if I had read it as a physical book, we would have been toast. I see you like nodding along as I'm saying
Hmm.
names. You're like, she's doing it. She's doing
Yay.
it.
Okay, so how do you feel about this first part of the book? Because I would say it's like the first, I don't know, 10% of the book, and it really like
Yeah.
sets off like what
Hmm.
the story is going to be about. Also, did you know that this was a inspired Beauty and the Beast retelling?
Okay. No, but instantly I got it. Like
Mm-hmm.
instantly, when I realized, I was like, "This is Beauty and the Beast." I was like, "Oh, this is why Millie likes it so much, because she loves Beauty and the Beast."
I
Except,
do.
except Feyre,
Can't
is
read.
like a painting girly. Exactly, she's a painting girly and like can't read, which is like we can talk about that. We can talk about that later. Wow, her sisters
Mm-hmm.
are so obnoxious and annoying and like useless, and I absolutely could not stand them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what else? Her father also useless. Um, the part where Tamlin I like breaks in and she's like, "Yeah, just kill me outside. It's fine. It's fine. Just kill me outside. Just not in the cabin." And then he's like, "Or I can take you with me." And she's like, "Okay, fine." I was like, yeah. The way that she like gave up so easily. Well, like she tried to kill him, but like the way that afterwards she was like, "Oh, you're high fae. I have like I can't do anything about this." Then and she was like, "Okay, fine." I was like, very good, very good. The first time I read this book, I only got as far as her talking about how hungry she is and how she needs to feed her family and her hunting like the wolf, and that's where I stopped reading.
You're like, I don't need to know anything else about this.
I don't need 7 pages, 6 7 pages about her just describing her current living situation, but I understand why. Now I get why. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really good setup. It was very much giving like a fairy tale. It was very much giving like Brothers Grimm. So honestly, didn't hate it. Yeah.
All right. So moving on to the next part of the book, which is arguably, in my opinion, the
Hmm.
weakest part of the book because the pacing instantly slows down
Hmm.
for, I guess, character development and romantic development.
Hmm.
But I remember the first time reading this, and even with this being my first reread, I was like, okay, I just got to get through this to get to the action.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So at first, Feyre is wary of the Spring Court and desperate to return to her family. Tamlin, though brusque, ensures Feyre is comfortable and arranges for her family's provision in her absence. All the fairies of Tamlin's court are cursed to permanently wear the masks they donned for a masquerade nearly 50 years ago. Feyre strikes up a friendship with Tamlin's friend and emissary, a high fae named Lucian. Feyre discovers her many misconceptions about the fairy realm, and she traps a Searle, a truth-telling fairy, to learn more about a dark force threatening all of Prynthian. Later, this force is revealed to be Amarantha, the self-appointed fairy queen of Prynthian, and a vicious general in the war against humans 500 years ago. Feyre accidentally attracts the attention of the evil Naga fairies, but manages to free the Suriel and kills 2 of the Naga before Tamlin rescues her. Feyre and Tamlin grow closer and begin to respect one another. Feyre attempts to overcome her illiteracy, and Tamlin provides Feyre with paints and canvases to explore her artistic dreams. One night, Tamlin brings home an injured fairy from the summer court, whom Feyre comforts as it dies. Afterwards, Feyre expresses regret over killing the fairy wolf. Tamlin opens up to Feyre despite having a heart that Lucian says is made of stone. Okay, so the first part is like getting to know the fairy realm, getting to know the spring court, and we're meeting like Tamlin and like Lucian, who's like a really strong secondary character. So what did you think of the introduction to like the other characters?
Okay, so Tamlin, I instantly kind of realized is just a very big softie. But like Tamlin is very much like what's the word? Like he's a big softie, but also burdened with the fact that kind of has to like take care of everything. And he always like just gives me like very much like, I can't get this right, like I have to take care of everything, it's a lot of power and responsibility, but I'm not living up to that power and responsibility, therefore I'm just going to be a little bit upset about everything all the time, which is fine. Okay. Lucian, I liked Lucian. I like Lucian a
I
lot.
did too. He's
Lucian,
sassy.
yeah, Lucian was like, I want Feyre gone. I want her gone. Why didn't you kill her? Why didn't we kill her earlier? Now we're over here having to save her and everything else, and we should just let her die. Very much was like Lucian is just kind of is funny. It's funny.
He's a
It
vibe.
tricked Feyre into almost getting kidnapped a couple times or taken out a couple times. Very funny. During this time, Feyre, I was starting to get a little bit annoyed with Feyre. I appreciate how like female protagonist in fantasy she is, in that she's a little quick-witted and she's always kind of suspicious and looking around very much, but there were some things that I was kind of like, especially when it came to Tamlin's very obvious romantic gestures, the way that she was just kind of like, huh, me, I could never, he could never, me, a lowly human, like maybe I'm just delusional enough to be like, well, yeah, hello, of course he is in love with
I
me.
think for me, the part that I did like about Feyre's development during this time is that she's coming from a place where she was just like in constant survival mode for so long,
Yeah.
and she bare the responsibility of taking and providing for her family because no one would step up to the plate. And even then, like in the beginning of the book, she's still trying to escape all the time. Like she's trying to like get
Yeah.
back to her family because she's like, no, I have to take care of them.
Oh,
Like
that
they
part
can't
was so
survive.
funny.
They
That part
can't
was
survive by
so funny.
themselves.
Yeah.
And then once she finally realized that it's like, oh, like they are taken care of, I don't have to worry about it. I can just be like, I can just live. And she didn't know how to live. Like she didn't know how to be like a regular human with interests and going about her everyday life without trying to survive. Because now
Yeah.
she was like plotted into this place where she had luxury upon luxury. She never had to worry about anything, and she just didn't know what to do with herself.
It was that the part is very nice. Also insane that they made the main character unable to read. Like I understand that comes back later on. I get it, but also I was like, dang, really just did that right away. I also found it very funny. The whole mask thing was very funny. I knew once those masks came off, it was going to be an insane reveal. Like, oh my god, he's so shiny, he's so beautiful, he's so sparkly. Like I saw that coming. Amarantha, the baddest bitch of them all. The baddest bitch of them all.
Petty in a person, yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
literally, I did look up fan art because I'm crazy. Naturally, what you do after this is look up fan art of a couple of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Batwings, we'll get there. And all of the fan art of Amarantha, I was like, she is serving. She is serving.
My God. Okay, so moving
I
on
loved
to
it.
part 3. Oh, this is your part.
Oh yes, part 3. Okay, so
Have fun. Just have fun.
yeah, this is okay. I actually kind of liked this part of the book. I'm surprised with how much I like. Okay. Anyways, um, in the springtime fairy festival of Callan, Callan May, Feyre is rescued from an attack by
Resend.
Rhysand, a high fae later revealed to be a high lord of the Night Court of Perinthian.
I love him so much.
Yeah, I know, we all do. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. After the festival, Tamlin bites and kisses Feyre in a magic induced passion, having warned her to stay away from him that night. Tamlin and Feyre develop romantic feelings for one another and share an intimate kiss during the summer solstice. Oh my god. Okay, Feyre's self-confidence grows, as does Amarantha's power. While on an errand for Amarantha, Rhysand learns that Feyre lives in the Spring Court. Tamlin decides to send Feyre home for her own protection. This part sucked. Okay, this part was awful. Before Feyre leaves, she and Tamlin are sexually intimate, and Tamlin tells Feyre he loves her. Feyre is too scared to tell Tamlin that she returns his feelings. At home, Feyre finds her family is thriving. She realizes her mistake in leaving Perinthian. Well, she didn't really. She was kind of like he booted her out.
Mm-hmm.
She returns to a ransacked spring court where her former lady in waiting explains the curse on Tamlin and the threat to Perinthians. Marantha cursed Tamlin for refusing to be her lover. I love how petty she is. Tamlin has to convince a human woman to marry him in 49 years or be forced to become Amarantha's consort. Amarantha stole power from Perinthian's high lords and now rules tyrannically, plotting a new war against humans. Oh my god. Marantha's so fucking iconic. Okay, she said, if I can't have you, nobody can. Okay, Feyre could have broken the curse by telling Tamlin she loved him, but now it is too late. Okay. Feyre goes to Tamlin's court under the mountain okay, that part was so confusing to me. To rescue Feyre goes to Amarantha's court under the mountain to rescue Tamlin. Amarantha offers Feyre a deal. Feyre must complete 3 tasks to free Tamlin and break the curse. Additionally, Feyre can solve a riddle at any time to break the curse immediately. Okay, that last part, why the hell did all of a sudden she was in the Triwizard tournament? We just
Okay, so my favorite part of the book is this last like 30% that we're going to
I
dive
can
into.
imagine why.
Because I like the action and stuff like that. I like Feyre being forced to like put all her wits together and try to get through this alive. I love how petty and diabolical everybody is in Amarantha's court. Like, and also, Rhysand was a majority of the last 30% of the book. And here's the thing:
Yeah.
if you are in the ACOTAR fandom, you are either Team Tamlin or Team Rhysand, and there is a correct answer. It is Team Rhysand, by the way.
Okay, I feel like without the other book content. Okay, because I was gonna ask you. I wasn't gonna ask you more. I was gonna tell you. Rhysand is obviously giving like a bad boy, mysterious, is like taking care of you, but also so disheveled, and also taking care of you, but in a way that you don't know he's taking care of you. He's doing it without telling you, and like it's what's best for you technically, but also it's schemy and slimy a little bit. That's Rhysand. Very like bad boy-esque with the fucking bat wings. We can discuss that. Tamlin is like your typical hero's journey, hero's arc, Hercules type esque, you know, Prince Charming situation. Very obvious from this book that maybe Tamlin is like the right choice and Rhysand is like the risky choice. So I'm very does more happen in other later books? Yeah, okay. 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 Okay.
I'm trying really hard. I'm failing at it. Okay, let's get into the last portion of this book, and then we can
Okay.
dissect
I
everything.
love how there's so much you want to say, but
I
you're also
honestly
just
yes.
holding. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so now we're entering the Akatar Triwizard Tournament. Okay,
Which
so
is fucking hilarious, honestly. With also, side note, the fucking the riddle, the solving of the riddle. Tell me why. When I got there, I was like, oh fucking we can't be doing this. We can't be doing this. I was like,
we
I know
got
Millie was
we
trying
got
to solve that.
okay.
Knew it.
So it gets so corny in the last third, but I love it anyways.
Oh, so bad. No, but like in the second that Amarantha like read the riddle, I was like, I know Millie was like, I'm trying to figure it out. She's doing the calculations in her mind. I was gonna ask, did you solve it before the book gave it to you? No. No?
No,
Oh wow. Okay.
I am notoriously bad at those kind of riddles.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Oh
I just
god,
don't
so
think enough in
funny.
the abstract to get them.
Okay.
Okay, so Feyre defeats a giant worm in Amarantha's first task, but she is badly wounded. Rhysand heals Feyre in exchange for her company for 1 week out of every month for the rest of her life. Rhysand marks their bargain with a tattoo on Feyre's arm and flaunts a drugged Feyre in front of Tamlin at the nightly fairy feast. Rhysand secretly plots against Amarantha and wants to manipulate Tamlin into a killing rage against her. For the second of Amarantha's tasks, Feyre must pull the correct lever to save herself and Lucien from a descending spiked grate. Feyre almost fails when she cannot read the clues determining the right lever, but Rhysand telepathically intervenes. For the third task, Feyre must kill 3 innocent fairies. Distraught, Feyre kills the first 2, but she stops when the third fairy is revealed to be Tamlin. Feyre realizes that Tamlin's heart of stone is literal, an effect of the curse, and stabs him, outwitting Amarantha. Amarantha, furious at being defeated, tortures Feyre despite Rhysand's attempts to intervene. Feyre solves Amarantha's riddle, and the curse on Tamlin is immediately broken. The answer is love. Amarantha... I was trying to say that with a straight face. I'm like, it's so corny for the answer to be love.
Corny. So corny.
Alright, so Amarantha breaks Feyre's neck, killing her. Tamlin kills Amarantha, and the 7 High Lords of Prythian resurrect Feyre as High Fae. Feyre is traumatized and uncertain of her future as a High Fae, but Tamlin and Rhysand both try to comfort her. Feyre returns to the Spring Court with Tamlin. Okay, so let's first talk about like all the events that happened in like the actual Triwizard Tournament, okay? And then we'll go into like all the repercussions of everything that happens afterwards.
I'm so happy that you also agreed that that part was so... I was like, where the fuck is this going? Like, I was like, what are we doing here? Okay, anyways, go on.
I know, like, I feel like we needed to have some kind of action. We needed Feyre to prove herself against the Fae. We needed to have Amarantha be a cliche baddie, like a cliche villain. And you know that she's the first boss. Because this is a whole series. So we know that we actually have, like, a bigger boss, and she's just the first one that we tumble through. But I love the fact that Feyre actually defeats and, like, completes all 3 tasks successfully. And Amarantha's like, no, I changed my mind. I'm gonna kill you anyways. Like, she's just like, I didn't expect you to.
Yeah, she was like, loophole. I was like, damn it. And like, you kind of see that, like, you know that's coming. You know that, like, from what we've learned about fairies, they're a little bit, they're a little bit sneaky, they're a little bit tricky. So like, you kind of see that coming. But, yeah.
So what do you think of Feyre turning into High Fae at the end?
I kind of saw that coming. I mean, that was very much giving, Edward turning Bella into a fucking vampire at the end. But I mean, in Twilight, obviously Bella wanted that. I don't think Feyre wanted that, to be completely honest.
No.
Feyre was very okay with being a human, and
Mm-hmm.
at the end she kind of has this moment where she was like she can like still feel things, and she feels them very like intensely, and she's kind of like, what is happening? Like, I didn't sign up for this. And then Rhysand is like, it'll like get better, like don't worry, it'll be fine. And I was kind of like, oh well, I mean, it had to happen in order for her to remain in these story, like remain in the book. And we hate to see a main character die at the end of their first book. So yeah, I was kind of like, okay, like I understand it had to happen, but also she didn't want it to happen, which kind of felt a little bit like, ugh, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was completely shocked the first time I read this book because again, I read this back I think in like 2019, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it had already come out for a couple of years, but I was busy reading the Throne of Glass series. So when I read the ACOTAR series, because Throne of Glass is like 8 books, and each book
Oh
gets
my
like thicker and
god.
thicker and thicker. Um and it took me like
Naturally.
a decade to finish through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read the ACOTAR series, it was like different but similar at the same time, and you can tell that like she just really wanted to write an adult-esque like
Mm-hmm.
romance fantasy book, but that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a thing back then. So this was originally marketed as YA, which yeah,
Dear
it was
God. Okay.
it was
Okay.
originally marketed as YA because they had like no other option, because at that point adult fantasy was only for like the male authors.
Yeah.
And if you were
Okay.
a female author, you wrote YA fantasy. That's just how it worked back then. Um
Oh,
s-
sexism.
Yeah, since then they have pulled the ACOTAR series, and so in bookstores you will not find it in YA. It is only exclusively sold in adult. And once it got cleared that it could be an adult series, it gets very smutty, like 10 times more smutty. This was so tame in comparison.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I guess I have to read the other parts. I don't think I will. Uh, don't get too excited. Millie was like,
Okay.
hey.
Okay, what I see you doing is I see you finding some kind of YouTuber that does like an entire recap of like the play by
Yeah.
play and watching
Yes.
their 40-minute
Correct.
essay on it and just getting through the
Correct.
series that way.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm gonna do after we finish here.
And I
Actually,
am
literally,
perfectly okay
exactly.
with that.
Yeah. I'm literally, I'm going live on Twitch later today, but until then, I am going to heat up my Patsy U from last night, and I am going to do that, and it's gonna be amazing, honestly. Just because I want to know the cheeseman, like like I want to know what happens. Okay, I like to be in the loop of what people are reading, just so that I can
Hmm.
actively have like an opinion on it. So that's why I read so much romance, because in my world of the internet, everybody talks about a lot of these romance books, and I'm like, oh, I need to know. Like, I need to know why the Spanish Love Deception is the most iconic book in the entire world, and why it's so unbelievable and timeless and truly the next literary masterpiece. All of that was sarcasm. Anyways, so like I understand, like I want to like know what happens in this world, which is why when we finish recording, we're gonna be hee hee ha ha. But sorry, I just totally diverted the whole point. What was I saying? It gets smuttier. That sounds insane.
Hmm. Hmm.
Do we get Resand smut?
Hmm. If you know, you know, chapter 55. Literally, the fandom knows exactly which one it is, okay? We have our trigger words, okay? Wingspan, soup, cabin, chapter 55. I cannot wait. I'm also, by the way, because I reread this book, I'm now going to reread the trilogy. So my plan is to pick up A Court of Mist and Fury after this as my next physical read.
That's crazy. This is a whole world that I'm just getting like a glimpse into. This is the second I start getting ACOTAR videos on my TikTok is the day that I know.
Literally, for the last 2 weeks, my algorithm knows that I've been rereading ACOTAR, so I've only been getting ACOTAR stuff.
That's crazy. I mean, I sent you a meme. I sent you that ACOTAR meme,
Mm-hmm.
that Goodreads review that was like,
Uh-huh.
what is
I mean,
Oh
facts.
my
There's
god.
nothing wrong with that review whatsoever.
No, it's true, very accurate. But okay, sorry. Where were we? I'm like trying to like
Okay, so I guess my question for you is,
Uh-huh.
um, do you see why this one is considered like a pioneer for the romantasy genre?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from everything you have told me, it seems like obviously this combination of like smutty, sexy, hot fairies and in like in fantasy was not really that prevalent before, if at
Mm-hmm.
all, or just maybe potentially entirely, self-published fanfics and unknowns, I guess. So yeah, I can totally see why this kind of ravaged through the scene, for lack of a better term. This book
Mm-hmm.
is very it's honestly very approachable. For some reason, whenever I've been incorrectly sold on the idea that fantasy has to be very cerebral and very like highbrow and very difficult to like comprehend and very daunting. It really doesn't. This book isn't. This book is very everything's kind of straightforward, and if you don't know something, it will be explained to you. It's very approachable fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think it's so popular. Um Fourth Wing is also approachable fantasy, but
It's
maybe
missing
way
the
too
logic.
approachable.
Yeah, it's missing the logic aspect. It's like for everything that you're saying exists in this world, you kind of have to back it up. And it feels
Yeah.
like not only for Fourth Wing, but for like some other romantasy books,
Mhm.
I think they're taking the charms of romantasy and doing their
Mhm.
spin, their version,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
realizing that like in order for it to work successfully, you have to do a good job with the fantasy element. Like
Yeah.
you can just write a
Yeah.
romance and be done with
Uh-huh.
it, but if you're going to
Mhm.
do a romance that's set in a fantasy world, you got to put the time and effort to make the world building make sense. If not, then
Mhm.
you just have a bunch of like conveniences and plot
Uh-huh.
holes and like
Yeah.
defy logic, and those aren't fun, at least for us. And some people, they're okay with it, but for me, I'm like, I can't. Like, it gnaws at me.
The way that you said conveniences and like plot holes and stuff, it you find a lot of that in romance, and it like in just like straight contemporary romance, and it passes as completely acceptable. Like I think about Love Theoretically, how that was, oh my god, that I just totally rubbed my eyes. That was Love Theoretically is such a cornerstone in the romance genre. Like
Mm-hmm.
truly that book is so vital, I feel, to the resurrection of people wanting to read.
Mm-hmm.
um and
Are we
like,
talking about love theoretically or the love hypothesis?
sorry, the love
Okay.
hypothesis, yeah, by Ali Hazelwood, the very first in like that
Mm-hmm.
STEMinist theory or STEMinist series or whatever. Like that book is so instrumental to like books becoming viral on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and stuff like that. But like the amount of, oh my god, only one bed, like all of those like the amount of like this, like when you're reading it, you're kind of like, oh my god, of course, and conveniences, and it just like perfect setups for these situations that kind of slips, and like you can get away with it in just like contemporary romance, because you're just like, well, this is like what I'm reading, it's fine. But when you add that same kind of like just um kind of like, it'll fine, it'll just like work itself out in fantasy, I can imagine how obnoxious that might be, because I'm sure a lot of people who have historically read fantasy are like, there are plot holes everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure people who read fantasy are used to reading so in depth and taking every single little sentence and dissecting it for what is to come, and will this pay out in the end, that you
Mm-hmm.
might find all these plot holes and stuff very obnoxious in this genre.
Yeah. And I think that that's why for me, like I respect Rebecca Yarros in the sense that I don't think she's a bad romance author. I
Mhm.
just I just think that she's a fantasy fan,
Mhm.
and not necessarily a fantasy writer. And so
Mhm.
I think that that's where like my issue with that in particular comes. But I think part of the reason why I like the Sarah J. Maas universe so much is that I love her romance and I love her fantasy elements equally. And
Mhm.
so it makes it for an overall enjoyable read for me.
Hmm. We should emphasize that Millie is quite qualified as a as a fantasy reader and quite qualified as a romance reader. So
It's
you are our
honestly
in-house expert.
It's so funny because that was the whole point of why I did a series on my YouTube, which I'm gonna shamelessly plug here. But it
No,
was the
yeah.
is it worth the hype romantasy edition? So I
Hmm.
was trying to read a bunch of popular romantasy books to see if I was actually a romantasy reader or if I was just Sarah J. Maas trash. And based on the books I was picking up, which I thought for sure I would love, and majority of them have comp titles with the Akatar series. So they're like, if you
Mm,
like Akatar, you'll like this book. Um, just
okay.
no, 2, 3 stars, didn't enjoy them, didn't want to continue the series. And I was like, maybe I just like Sarah J. Maas. And maybe the romantasy that I like is just like cozy romantasy and not
Okay.
necessarily spicy or smutty ones.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have never. This is like, besides for the fantasy that we read last year, The Wolf of War in Yarrow. This is like the second big fantasy I have read in a very long time. And it makes me, maybe it's false confidence, but it makes me feel like the genre isn't as daunting as I think it is. It is still not like one of my favorite genres to
Hmm.
read, but like it's definitely growing on me, and I can definitely see the appeal, especially when you add spicy characters in play, and especially because I am a fan of creature romance.
Like for me, I'm not. So the phase about as far as I go.
Yeah, that's funny. Because whenever I was reading this, I was like, Greta, you're a fan of creature romances. Like, this should really just be right up your alley. The creature romance to romantasy crossover is very, very significant. So,
Hmm.
yeah. Overall, I'm really happy I read this book. I'm happy that I finally, and this feels like it's been a very long time coming, and like it's
Hmm.
been a very much like, Greta, you have to just like bite the bullet, you know? I'm
Hmm.
very happy that I was coerced into reading it. Um is it the best thing I've read all year? No. Is it like going to change my life? Am I going to continue reading these? No, simply because they're a very large time commitment,
Hmm.
and I don't feel like maybe I will get the payout I want from them. That's the only reason why.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. You're a short girl, a
I
short book
sure.
girly.
I mean, yes, I
I
am.
mean, you are a short girly, but you're a short book girly on top of that.
That's very true. Yeah. But yeah. Any final thoughts, Millie, about the book that starts this beloved series for you?
I'm just really excited that you didn't hate it. Um,
Okay.
and I'm really excited that this reread prompted me now to want to reread the series because
That's
I'm
good.
just really excited to go back into the world.
That's really nice.
Hmm.
Oh my
Your final
gosh.
thoughts?
Final thoughts. I see the value in the series. I see how this is essentially kind of like the blueprint for this type of genre. I understand the hype. I get that this might not be the best book in the series, but I feel like it does a very good job at setting up this world without. Okay, I despise lore dumps. I Ooh, that was my biggest gripe with Fourth Wing. Just like the lore dump that was happening, I was like, oh, I was dear God, trust that your readers are smart enough to understand what is going on. This didn't have that crazy of a lore dump, which I appreciated. I actually found it very funny that whenever we were starting to get a lore dump, whenever whenever Feyre was like asking all these questions, Tamlin just like put her to sleep. That was hilarious, and I was like,
Hmm.
well, I guess I'll never know the answer to these things. And I understand, like, I like that the book didn't treat me like an idiot, which was nice. The characters, there's so many to pick from. The names are unique enough that I wasn't getting them confused in my head, which I very much appreciated. um and yeah, no, overall I see the appeal. I see why people absolutely love this, and I'm very curious about where this goes, especially with what you said about Tamlin and Rhysand.
Let's just say I'm a fan of the Night Court.
Okay, okay, okay. Is that's your favorite court?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I don't know. I like the spring court is so fun. They're just like
It's the
having a little
vibes. It's
party.
like perpetual, like happy dappy vibes.
Yeah, I appreciated it.
Hmm.
Okay. Are we ready to talk about what's next?
Yes. All right. So for next week's episode, we are
Mm-hmm.
going back to our bread and butter, which is adult
Mm-hmm.
contemporary romance. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
doing a 2025 new release, and that is The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. So this is the third book in her like companion trilogy. We've read both books and reviewed them on this podcast in the past 2 years, and so it just makes sense for us to do the third one. And I'm so excited to jump into this book this week.
I'm so excited for the live lyric. I follow Christina Forrest on Instagram, and I saw when she was like it's pub day. I was like, it's happening finally. The last of the Green Sister series is out, which is crazy. The fact that we've also read all three of them is actually crazy, because the first one with the neighbor favor, I was like, oh yeah, sure, it just looks like a regular romance, ended up being one of our faves.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so excited to see. I hope that it ends on a bang and it doesn't end in in a sizzle, in a low
Yeah,
sizzle.
because the first two have been so good.
Yes, the first two have been so much fun. Neighbor favorite, I think, being my favorite of the two.
I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
All
Okay.
right. And then afterwards, after the love lyric, we're going to continue the trend with another 2025 new release by a iconic author, and we're going to be reading Deep End by Ali Hazelwood.
I'm
One of
so excited.
I'm not as excited as you, but I know that I will have an enjoyable reading experience because so far it's been pretty okay, but I feel like you're going to go feral over this book.
I am so excited I'm excited to talk about it because I read the whole book on release day.
The
I
fact that you read
have
this entire
not
book in one day is insane.
I have not done that in a very long time, but I literally could not put it down. Okay, I need to stop talking about it. I just can't wait for you to read it. I'm so excited. I love Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood can literally, I don't care what she gives me. I will read it and I will say, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm just excited for you to read another Ali Hazelwood and then we can talk about it. Oh, so good.
Yay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Millie, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my YouTube channel, Into the Nook, where I do reading vlogs and secret TBR videos and a bunch of book review stuff. You guys can also find me on Instagram at Into the Nook Realm. Greta, where can they find you?
You can find me at Greta's Favorite Things all over the internet. Primarily on Twitch. I Twitch stream Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. PST. We play video games over there. Currently, I am wrapping up Portal 2, my Portal 2 playthrough. And I also have a YouTube channel, and that is slightly active. 2 new videos coming out this month.
Ooh.
We're doing things. We're moving things along. But yeah, that's where I am all over the place. If you want more, if you're listening to us, on Spotify or Apple Podcast, we're on YouTube now. But like actually this time.
Yeah, you guys can see our lovely faces on YouTube.
Yeah, and that is, of course, at the books we meet in the library. All right, we will be back in 2 weeks with The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest, and then 2 weeks after that with Deep End, that name is crazy, by Ali Hazelwood.
Bye,
we
guys.
we will see you then. Bye.